Staff Sergeant Robert Bobby Martinez had served 3 tours in Afghanistan, but it was an IED explosion on his final mission that changed everything. The blast that killed 2 of his brothers-in-arms left Bobby without his right leg and with traumatic brain injury that would affect him for the rest of his life. Now, 18 months later, he sat in his wheelchair in the cramped living room of his family's trailer, watching his 6-year-old daughter Maria play with a broken doll.
"Daddy, when are we moving to a real house?"
Maria asked innocently, her dark eyes filled with the kind of hope that broke Bobby's heart. He had promised her so many things before his injury: a house with a backyard, maybe a dog, college savings. Now, living on disability payments and struggling with medical bills, those promises seemed as distant as the mountains of Afghanistan. His wife Carmen worked double shifts at the local diner, but it barely covered their basic expenses. The VA had helped with some modifications to their trailer, but Bobby's condition required specialized equipment and therapy that insurance wouldn't fully cover. The medical bills were crushing them, arriving in the mail like daily reminders of everything they couldn't afford.
"Soon, Mija,"
Bobby replied, pulling Maria onto his lap.
"Daddy's working on it."
But the truth was, he felt more helpless now than he ever had on the battlefield. In Afghanistan, he knew who the enemy was and how to fight. Here at home, the enemies were invisible: bureaucracy, bills, and a system that seemed to forget about veterans once the cameras stopped rolling. Carmen came home that evening exhausted, her uniform stained from a 12-hour shift. She found Bobby staring out the window at the neighbor's house, which had a "for sale" sign that had been taunting them for months.
"The owner dropped the price again,"
Bobby said quietly.
"It's perfect for Maria. Good schools, safe neighborhood. But we're still $50,000 short for the down payment."
They both knew that $50,000 might as well have been $50 million. Bobby's disability check barely covered their current rent, Carmen's wages went to food and Maria's school supplies, and his medical expenses consumed any savings they tried to accumulate. That night, as Carmen helped Bobby with his physical therapy exercises, they both wondered if the American dream was just that, a dream that heroes like Bobby would never actually reach. The rejection letter from the VA arrived on a Tuesday morning, stamped with the cold bureaucratic language that had become all too familiar to the Martinez family. Bobby's application for additional housing assistance had been denied due to
insufficient documentation of service-connected disability impact on housing needs.
Carmen read it aloud, her voice shaking with frustration and disbelief.
"Insufficient documentation?"
she said, gesturing toward Bobby's wheelchair and the medical equipment crowding their tiny living space.
"What more documentation do they need?"
Bobby crumpled the letter, adding it to the growing pile of denials, delays, and bureaucratic runaround that had become their daily reality. Dr. Patricia Williams, Bobby's neurologist at the VA hospital, was equally frustrated with the system's limitations. During Bobby's monthly appointment, she explained that while his physical therapy was progressing well, his traumatic brain injury required a stable, stress-free environment to heal properly.
"The cramped conditions and financial stress are actually hindering your recovery,"
she told him.
"But I can't prescribe better housing."
Maria's teacher, Mrs. Jennifer Chun, had noticed changes in the normally bright 6-year-old. Maria had started falling asleep in class and seemed worried about things no child should have to worry about. When Carmen met with her for a parent conference, Mrs. Chen expressed concern.
"Maria told me that her daddy cries at night because they can't afford a real house. No child should carry that burden."
The final blow came when Bobby received a notice that his specialized physical therapy sessions would be reduced due to budget cuts. The therapy that was helping him regain some independence would be cut from 3 times a week to once a week. Carmen found Bobby in the bathroom that night, staring at himself in the mirror, tears streaming down his face.
"I gave them everything,"
he whispered.
my leg, my health, 3 years of my life. And this is what I get back.
That night, Carmen did something she had never done before. She wrote a letter to President Trump. She had heard he supported veterans, and desperate times called for desperate measures.
Dear Mr. President,
she began,
my husband gave everything for this country, and now we're forgotten. Please, if you really care about veterans, help us.
She included photos of Bobby in uniform, his Purple Heart, and Maria playing in their cramped trailer. She sealed the letter knowing it would probably never be read, but unable to give up hope entirely. Meanwhile, Bobby lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain leak through their trailer's damaged roof, wondering if he had survived Afghanistan only to be defeated by his own country's indifference. 3 weeks after Carmen sent her letter, she was cleaning tables at the diner when her phone rang. The caller ID showed a Washington, D.C. area code, which she almost ignored, thinking it was another debt collector. But something made her answer.
Mrs. Martinez? This is Amanda Foster from the White House Office of Veterans Affairs. President Trump personally read your letter about your husband's situation, and he would like to speak with Staff Sergeant Martinez directly. Would this afternoon be convenient?
Carmen nearly dropped the phone.
You mean the president wants to talk to Bobby?
The voice on the other end was warm and professional.
Yes, ma'am. The president was deeply moved by your family's story. He'll be calling at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Please make sure Staff Sergeant Martinez is available.
Racing home, Carmen burst through the trailer door to find Bobby helping Maria with her homework.
Bobby, you need to sit down,
she said breathlessly.
The president is calling you in 2 hours.
Bobby looked at her as if she had lost her mind.
Carmen, you're scaring me. What president?
When she explained, Bobby's first reaction was disbelief, then panic.
What am I supposed to say to the President of the United States?
Carmen helped him shower and put on his dress uniform, the one he had worn when he received his Purple Heart. Maria, sensing the importance of the moment, put on her best dress and sat quietly beside her father. At exactly 3 p.m., the phone rang.
Staff Sergeant Martinez? This is President Trump. I want you to know that I read every word of your wife's letter, and frankly, I'm ashamed that a hero like you is being treated this way.
Bobby's hands trembled as he held the phone.
Mr. President, I thank you for calling, sir. Bobby, can I call you Bobby? Let me tell you something. You gave your leg for this country, and this country is going to give back to you. I'm not talking about more government programs or bureaucratic nonsense. I'm talking about real help right now.
Trump's voice carried a determination that Bobby hadn't heard from any government official since his injury.
Sir, we just need a chance to get back on our feet,
Bobby replied.
A stable home for my daughter, access to proper medical care, maybe a way for me to work again.
Trump interrupted him.
Bobby, you're going to have all of that and more. I'm sending my personal Veterans Affairs coordinator to San Antonio tomorrow. By the end of this week, your family's situation is going to be completely different.
After the call ended, Bobby sat in stunned silence. Maria climbed onto his lap.
Daddy, was that really the president?
Bobby nodded, still processing what had just happened. For the first time in 18 months, he felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. The next morning, a black SUV pulled up to the Martinez family's trailer. Out stepped David Richardson, the president's senior advisor for Veteran Affairs, accompanied by a team that included a VA administrator, a housing specialist, and a medical coordinator. Bobby, still in disbelief, met them at the door in his wheelchair.
Staff Sergeant Martinez,
Richardson said, shaking Bobby's hand firmly.
President Trump doesn't make empty promises. We're here to solve problems, not create more paperwork.
Within hours, the team had conducted a complete assessment of Bobby's needs, reviewed his medical files, and begun making calls to expedite solutions that had been tied up in bureaucracy for months. The first breakthrough came when the VA administrator, reviewing Bobby's case file, discovered that his housing assistance application had been denied due to a clerical error.
"This should have been approved 18 months ago,"
she said, shaking her head.
"Someone misclassified your injury severity. We're correcting this immediately."
By afternoon, Bobby's housing assistance had been not just approved, but backdated to include the months of assistance he should have been receiving. But Trump's team went far beyond correcting bureaucratic mistakes. The housing specialist had already identified 3 suitable homes in Bobby's preferred neighborhood, all within the family's expanded budget range thanks to a special veterans home ownership program that Trump had personally authorized.
"Pick the one you like,"
Richardson told Bobby.
"The president wants your family settled before Maria starts the new school year."
Dr. Williams arrived that evening, accompanied by a traumatic brain injury specialist from Walter Reed Medical Center. They had reviewed Bobby's case and developed a comprehensive treatment plan that would be fully funded through a presidential discretionary Veterans Health Fund.
"We're going to get you the best care available,"
Dr. Williams assured him.
"No more rationing therapy sessions."
Carmen watched in amazement as years of obstacles were dissolved in a single day. When Maria came home from school, she found her parents crying, but for the first time in months, they were tears of joy.
"Mija,"
Bobby said, lifting his daughter onto his lap,
"how would you like to pick out your very own bedroom in our new house?"
That evening, President Trump called again.
"Bobby, how did things go today with my team?"
Bobby's voice was thick with emotion as he replied,
"Sir, I don't know how to thank you. You've given us our life back."
Trump's response was simple.
"Bobby, you gave your leg for America. The least America can do is give you a home."
Within 2 weeks, the Martinez family had moved into a beautiful 3-bedroom house with a backyard where Maria could play safely. But more importantly, Bobby had found something he thought he'd lost forever, his sense of purpose and dignity. The house was specially modified for his wheelchair accessibility, and he had a home office where he could start the business he'd been dreaming about. President Trump had personally arranged for Bobby to receive vocational rehabilitation training in cybersecurity, a field where his military intelligence background would be valuable.
"You served your country in uniform,"
Trump told him during one of their regular phone calls.
"Now you can serve it in a different way and support your family doing it."
The specialized medical treatment was transformative. The Walter Reed team had developed a cutting-edge therapy program that was helping Bobby's brain injury heal in ways his local doctors hadn't thought possible. His memory was improving, his headaches were less frequent, and his mood was stabilizing.
"I feel like myself again,"
he told Carmen after a particularly good day. Maria thrived in her new environment. Her teacher at the new school noticed an immediate improvement in her academic performance and social interactions. The worried lines that had appeared on her 6-year-old face were replaced by the carefree joy that every child deserves. She had her own bedroom decorated with princess themes, and Bobby could watch her play in their fenced backyard without worrying about her safety. Carmen was able to reduce her work hours and return to nursing school, something she had abandoned when Bobby was injured. Trump's team had connected her with a veteran spouse scholarship program that covered her tuition and provided childcare during her classes.
"I'm going to be able to help other families like ours,"
she told Bobby, her eyes bright with renewed ambition. The story of Trump's intervention in the Martinez family's life had quietly spread through the veteran community. Bobby began receiving calls from other struggling veterans, asking for advice and hoping for similar help. Rather than keeping his good fortune to himself, Bobby started a support network, connecting veterans with resources and advocating for those still lost in the bureaucratic maze.
"The president didn't just save our family,"
Bobby reflected during a video call with Richardson.
"He reminded me that we're worth saving."
6 months after Trump's intervention, Bobby Martinez had become an unexpected advocate for veteran affairs. Working from his home office, he had developed a cybersecurity consulting business that was not only financially successful, but was also providing services to other veteran-owned businesses. The president had personally recommended Bobby's services to several government contractors, giving him the credibility he needed to establish himself in the competitive field. But Bobby's most important work was happening in the evenings. He had created a hotline for struggling veterans, using his own experience navigating the system to help others cut through red tape and find the resources they needed. His success story had become a beacon of hope for families who felt forgotten by the system they had served. During a surprise visit to San Antonio, President Trump stopped by Bobby's house to see how the family was settling in. Maria, now 7 and thriving in school, gave the president a tour of her bedroom and showed him her artwork.
"Mr. President,"
she said with the innocent directness of a child,
"thank you for giving my daddy his smile back."
Trump, clearly moved by the interaction, sat down with Bobby to discuss expanding the kind of personalized veteran assistance that had transformed the Martinez family's life.
"Bobby, what we did for you shouldn't be extraordinary,"
Trump said.
"It should be standard. I want you to help me change that."
Bobby was appointed as a special advisor to the White House Veterans Affairs Office, a position that allowed him to work from home while developing programs to streamline assistance for other struggling veteran families. His first initiative was a rapid response team that could cut through bureaucratic delays for veterans in crisis situations, similar to what he had experienced. Carmen had graduated from nursing school and was working at the VA hospital, specifically in the traumatic brain injury unit. Her first-hand experience as a veteran's spouse made her uniquely qualified to understand and support other military families facing similar challenges.
"I know what it's like to feel hopeless,"
she told her patients' families.
"But I also know that there's always hope, even when you can't see it."
The Martinez family's story had attracted media attention, but they were careful to focus on the larger issues rather than their personal salvation.
"This isn't about politics,"
Bobby explained during a television interview.
"This is about honoring the promises we make to people who serve. The president kept his promise to us. Now we need to make sure that promise extends to every veteran family."
Their story had inspired congressional action on veteran housing assistance and medical care access. Bobby had testified before Congress about the bureaucratic obstacles that prevent veterans from receiving timely help, using his own experience as a case study for systemic reform. 1 year after President Trump's first phone call, the Martinez family hosted a barbecue in their backyard to celebrate Bobby's successful completion of his cybersecurity certification program. The guest list included the neighbors who had welcomed them to the community, the medical team from Walter Reed who had helped Bobby's recovery, and the White House staff who had made their new life possible. President Trump arrived unexpectedly, bringing with him a proclamation declaring the day as
Martinez Family Community Service Day,
in honor of their work helping other veteran families. But the real surprise came when he announced that Bobby's Veterans Assistance Program was being expanded nationwide, with federal funding to establish rapid response teams in every major city.
"Bobby Martinez represents the best of America,"
Trump told the gathered crowd.
"He served his country with honor, faced adversity with courage, and now he's making sure other heroes get the support they deserve. This is what it means to keep faith with those who serve."
Maria, now confident and thriving, had prepared a speech for the president.
"Mr. Trump,"
she said, reading from a paper covered with her careful handwriting,
"you didn't just help my family. You showed me that when someone keeps their promises, it makes everyone stronger."
The crowd, including several hardened combat veterans, were visibly moved by her words. Bobby's business had grown to employ 12 other veterans, providing not just cybersecurity services, but also a model for veteran entrepreneurship. His Veterans Assistance Hotline had helped over 500 families navigate the system and secure the support they needed. Most importantly, his success had demonstrated that with the right support, injured veterans could not only recover but thrive. Carmen had been promoted to head nurse of the TBI unit and was developing treatment protocols based on the comprehensive care Bobby had received. Their approach was being studied and implemented at VA hospitals across the country.
We learned that healing happens faster when families feel secure and supported,
she explained to a conference of medical professionals. The house that had seemed like an impossible dream was now the headquarters for a growing network of veteran advocates and successful veteran entrepreneurs. The backyard where Maria played had become a meeting space for support groups and community organizing. The Martinez family had transformed their personal salvation into a platform for helping others.